Hello, I'm Gary R. Allen. I'm the owner and operator of Swell Wolf Education Center. And today, this presentation is about the anatomical, morphological, and behavioral differences between a wolf and a dog. So we know that dogs came from wolves and through the domestication process. We don't need to, there's a number of theories as to, where that transition from the wolf to the dog occurred. That's not really important for us in this discussion. What's just important is that there's significant differences between a wolf and a dog. The theme that you'll hear repeated throughout this presentation is that the wolf is a very magnificent animal that's learned to adapt very well in the harsh environment in which it lives, whether it's the Arctic wolves in the high Arctic, or whether it's in the Middle East and other desert areas where wolves also share a habitat, and also in North America where they live in whether it's forested landscapes or grassland landscapes. And as David Meach, one of the world's preeminent wolf biologists, he described the wolf as a magnificent animal that's so well adapted to live in its harsh environment. The Ojibwe people also shared that same view, that they observed the wolf living and sustaining itself and its family in a very harsh environment. So they adapted many of their hunting practices and how they lived and cooperated within sharing their food and working as a family unit, because that was the only way that they saw that they could sustain themselves as well. So let's begin and let's look at the anatomical and morphological differences of the wolf to the dog. And you probably could see over my shoulder here, that is Tundra. Now, Tundra was the wolf that I took into the schools, and we did over 300 schools in BC, educated over 40,000 students and teachers and adults. Unfortunately, Tundra has passed away on June the 5th, 2022. She is as you can see, I had her, I guess, recreated, if you want to use that word, by a taxidermist and that. But we'll look at Tundra's anatomy. So what you can see is a long snout here, and that the head is very broad, which is different than a dog. Let's also look at the ears. You can see the ears are very small relative to that head. And that's Allen's rule. Joel Allen, back in 1887, and that he hypothesized that animals that live in harsh environments, their extremities are smaller because of the cold environment they live in. So you don't want big ears because they can freeze. And that, so you see that Tundra's ears are incredibly smaller than a dog of her size. We have a 17-month-old German Shepherd, and his ears are a lot bigger than Tundra's. So let me also just show you in terms of the here is the skull This is a tundra skull, and you can see the long snout here from there down. You can see the canines and the other teeth that they have. The wolf has 42 teeth, same as the dog. Back here, which would be at the back of Tundra's head, there is the occipital crest, and that's these massive jaw muscles that a wolf has are attached to that occipital crest. Think of it also as a grizzly bear that has that big hump behind the shoulders. That's where those massive shoulder and leg muscles are attached. The jaw pressure that the wolf can exert is quite considerable. It's been measured up to 1,500 pounds per square inch. Now, your dogs that think of have a big bite, like your Dobermans and your Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Pit Bulls, they're in a 300 psi range. So considerably more, because this is the only weapon, if we can say that, that a wolf has to be able to latch onto its prey and to bring it down. So it's quite those muscles are very, very important. They also can when they catch and kill a moose, they can on the femur bone, that big leg bone, they can, after they've eaten the meat, that they want to get to the marrow in that bone, and 6 to 8 crunches, and they can break open that bone. So you get a sense as to how strong that is. Now, there's some other really important differences, and hopefully you can see tundra has very long legs and a narrow chest. So what that does is it makes it so that they can move very efficiently. And what you'll find with a wolf, which is different than a dog, is that they're mechanically in their movement is much more efficient than a dog. The paws on the front are bigger than the rear paws, and the reason for that is in the snow, the wolf will put its front paw out, and the back paw will land into that divot in the snow, so they're not having to make another divot, which would slow them down and take more energy. So the wolf moves different than a dog. So the wolf, when it's moving, back paw into front paw, and front paw, and then back paw into the front paw divot. And that's very efficient. What a dog will do is its back legs will go in between where the 2 front legs were, the divot. So the front paws directly below the shoulder, and that makes it incredibly mechanically efficient for the wolf to move, because it's a very mobile species that can travel 50 kilometers in a 24-hour period in which to hunt. Their tail is straight down, so it isn't curved like Rocky's is, as a German Shepherd, or a Husky has even a more curved tail. So it's straight down. The guard hair is there to prevent the water getting in, whether it's rain or whether it's snow. So if you see wolves curled up in the snow and they got snow on top of them, that snow is not melting, because there's very little heat loss with the wolf, and that's generated by the underneath the guard hair is the fur that the wolf has, and it keeps them very warm in very harsh environments. So you get a sense of how so well adapted the wolf is from an anatomical basis and a morphology basis in regards to the to its environment, and different than a dog. One of the other things that you want to know that's different between a wolf and a dog is from a reproductive basis. The wolf, the female wolf comes into estrus, into heat, once a year, generally end of January, first part of March. So they only have pups once a year. Those pups are born 63 days later. That's the gestation period. That's the same as a dog, 63 days. But a dog has 2 gestation periods, the female, whereas the wolf only 1, because, as I say, the pups are born end of March into April, and they hang around the den and the rendezvous site over the late spring and the summer. And as they get into the fall and the winter, like October, these animals have to be almost adult size so that they can move with the pack in their territory in the summer. And to give you an idea how quickly they gain in size, when they're born, they're about a pound. Between the 5th week and the 20th week, they gain 3 pounds a week. So they're tripling their birth weight every week. And I measured that with Nahani and Mohegan, and it was right on 3 pounds. So again, a much quicker development of the pups into because of the necessity of being adult sized to travel in their environment, which can be harsh. Dog doesn't quite grow in that quick fashion. So anyway, that gives you some ideas about the differences between wolves and dogs from an anatomical basis. So let's move on to the behavioral basis, and I will just. So there's a sign saying that they're very independent thinkers and they're highly intelligent, and that's very true with a wolf. They can problem solve, and they're able to, their intelligence level that I've seen between the number of dogs that I've had and the wolf, it's a level much higher than a dog. They're independent thinking. So if you're raising them like I have done with Tundra and the others, they don't need to have humans do any thinking for them. They're completely independent in their thinking. So you don't train them. People ask me, when I was raising them, do you train them? And I'd ask, well, what do you mean by training? And, come, sit, stay, and all that stuff. I said, no, that's dog stuff. Wolves aren't going to do that. You play fetch with the dog. Rocky loves to play fetch. You try that with a wolf, you throw the ball, it may go and sniff it. It is not going to bring it back to you. That's not part of their behavior. So when I said that they are that they can problem solve, and what I mean by problem solving is the definition I'm using is that they can encounter a situation that they've never encountered before, and they'll find a solution for it. Now, that is different than a dog. With Rocky, I've done 2 or 3 advanced tracking courses with them, plus nose work courses. So the nose work would be sniffing out different scents, that they would do, to have dogs that, sniff out, money, drugs, bombs, cadaver dogs, that kind of stuff. And when you're doing that training, it's sequential. You're training the dog and accentuating those that powerful scent that they have, which brings me back to that nose. There's 280 million olfactory senses in the nose of a wolf, as well as a dog. The wolf can smell its prey about 2 miles away. Now, when I was doing training with Rocky, he wasn't smelling drugs, 2 miles away, or whatever scent that we were using in that. So again, you get a sense of how what the difference is. So let me give you a couple examples of what I mean by them being able to no, lost the word. They're able to shoot. Okay, what I meant is by being able to solve problems, problem solving. My apologies there. So Rocky or Nahani and Mohegan. Nahani was the white Arctic wolf male, and Mohegan was the female all black. And they were about a year old, and they were out on the deck. It was just after dinner, early evening, and I noticed that Mohegan, they were playing with a cable and electrical cable, and Mohegan somehow got this wrapped around her neck twice and wrapped around her front leg. And so she was in a bit of distress because if she moved, it was tightening around her neck. Now, as a human, you'd see that and you'd go, oh, I'll go out and help get that off of her neck. And that would be the wrong thing to do, because when you went out there, even though they knew you or whatever, they would try to move away from you, which would just compound the problem. So Nahani, who was incredibly smart, he was standing next to his buddy, his friend. He grabbed the cable and unraveled it off of her neck and dropped it on the deck, and then she lifted her leg out of it. And I observed this, and I was astonished to see how intelligent he was and how aware of the difficulty that his buddy was in, and to solve that problem for him. It was really quite remarkable. But he was, from the breeder that I got him, he said in the 24 years that he'd been breeding, this was the smartest dog that he had ever raised. And you'll see a picture of him doing some stuff at 4 weeks of age. The other example I would like to use is David Meach, when he was up on Ellesmere Island studying the Arctic wolves. He observed the wolf pups around the wolf den, and there was a yearling that's left to look after the pups because the adults were out hunting. And this muskoxen was walking up the hill on the trail that would go right by the den. Now, the muskoxen would kill the pups because they know that they're eventually going to become wolves and kill their young. And so the yearling knew that, it couldn't chase the muskoxen away. So what he did was, he or she grabbed the carcass of a hare that the pups would play with, and he started to fling it up in the air and play a game with it, and he moved them off the trail, and the pups followed him over off the trail, and the muskoxen continued up the trail and didn't attack the yearling or the pups. So again, there's a problem-solving event that the wolves do. Okay, so here's a picture of um, Nahani. He's 4 weeks of age there, and he's doing this um, uh, obstacle course down at the breeder. So you can see how alert he is and how focused he is on doing this um, obstacle course. So you can see the intelligence of him. Okay, now I will get a. Okay, so here you see this is Rocky at 5 weeks of age, and you can see that he's um, nowhere nowhere near advanced as Nahani was there in that other picture. Um, and German Shepherds, tend to be one of the more intelligent dog breeds. Now, Tundra was also at 5 weeks, same age as Rocky there. She was walking with us off leash. She come to a log. She put her paws up on it, and Sally, my wife, was walking behind um, Tundra, and she went to lift um, Tundra up onto the log by lifting her back legs and that. And Tundra turned around and growled at her, and Sally took her hand away, and Tundra hopped up on the log herself and ran and caught up with us. And further down the trail, she ran into we ran into another log that was twice as high. I stepped over it. Tundra put her paws up on the log, and at 5 weeks, she knew she wouldn't be able to get up over it. So she turned to Sally and whined at her to help her get up over um, the log. So again, you get some sense of how different the intelligence level at that period of time is with them. And so again, wolves can problem solve. Dogs don't seem to have that level of intelligence that they can solve a problem very quickly that they encounter. And wolves have to be able to do that in a harsh environment. They can't do it sequentially like training Rocky to do tracking and scent work. If wolves have to do it sequentially, they will die. So that's a really big difference in terms of their intelligence level. It's quite remarkable. Okay. Here's another topic. So wolves are family, and that's very very true of their way of adapting so that they could work together in terms of hunting and sharing the food, working together to protect their territory, to guard it, and to keep other intruders out, particularly other wolf packs. And so they're very, very family oriented. And at the beginning, when I talked about the Ojibwe, so if you look at First Nations family structure, you'll see that they are the same as the Ojibwe, that they learned through watching the wolf that they had to work as a family unit and as a community unit to share the food and to raise their offspring in a way that everything was worked together in a teamwork situation. And that was the way that they could adapt and sustain themselves in that harsh environment. So again, very similar between the First Nations and the wolf with family. Dogs live in a family, like Rocky lives with us, and there may be people have a couple dogs and whatever. So there was a wolf center in Austria that did some tests and exercises with wolves and dogs, And the test was that you had to succeed, you had to work together as a team, you had to cooperate. And so out of 100 attempts, the wolves did it 81 times, the dog did it 19 times, or the dogs, because the dogs would compete against each other. They'd lost that need to work together through that domestication process. Wolves continue to work together as a family unit to succeed. So that hasn't changed in the thousands of years, from when the dog was domesticated from the wolf. What I found with raising, the pups and whatever, they play rougher than dog pups, but they never hurt each other. I've never seen them draw blood, and in the accounts that I've read from wolf biologists, that hasn't happened as well from their observations. And so when the wolves are playing, they play rough, they're learning to socialize there. They're learning to find out where they fit into in terms of that family unit, and they're learning how to be a wolf. But they're not going to injure each other, because if they do, then that means that they themselves may not be able to sustain their family unit if somebody's injured, and isn't able to hunt or look after the pups or to defend their territory. So very much where they really look after each other. And I've written a couple articles on we as humans could learn so much about healthy family dynamics if we looked at the wolf. The wolf doesn't abuse its offspring, either psychologically, physically, or sexually. Wolf dads are not deadbeat dads that some human dads are, and a number of examples like that. Okay. The other thing that I want to show is wolves are neophobic. And by that, I mean, they're very cautious. So wolves are neophobic. They're very cautious when they encounter something that they perceive to be a threat to them. And I want to show you a little video clip that'll show this, what I'm talking about. Okay, here you'll see a black float there. That Nahani is the white Arctic, the male, and Mohegan's the black one. Now you'll see that Nahani is investigating the float. Rocky, take him down there. He's investigating the float more than Mohegan is. So that float I just put into their enclosure, and I'm filming this. So you see that Mohegan's coming over again very cautiously. Nahani, he's checking it out. Pushes it with his nose. Mohegan's wondering what it is. It sort of reminds me of The Gods Must Be Crazy, where the Kalahari Bushmen find the Coke bottle in the desert, and they're wondering what it is. All right. So there it is. So you can see how neophobic they were. The one thing, if you looked at, which is different than a dog, the wolves constantly use their nose to sniff it and push it and investigate it. No time did they use their paws to move it and see what it was. A dog would use its paw to investigate it. Wolves don't do that. And I used to, when I went out into the enclosure, and the Hani and Mohegan be out there, and they'd be coming around me and engaging or whatever, and then they'd go off, and they move very quietly, and you don't hear them, even though I knew they were out there. And Nahani would come up behind me and push me with his nose in my back just to let me know he was there. So wolves will approach you from the back, not because they're trying to be sneaky and attack you. It's because they're cautious. And they, even though they knew me and they trusted me and whatever, that's how they would come and see me in that, in certain circumstances. Dogs will come up and be in front of you. So anyway, wolves are certainly neophobic, and they in the wild, there's a saying that if you've seen a wolf, it's seen you 2 or 3 times. It's observed you to see whether you're a threat, and it will howl to its mates to let the other wolves know that there's somebody in their territory. All right, let's talk about food, which is very important. And again, let me just show you. Okay, so there you see Tundra with a deer leg. This was a roadkill, and which I legally got, and I brought it home. I cut it up and gave her a deer leg, and Meshach the other one a deer leg. So what you see there is Tundra ate. So I gave that to them about 7 o'clock at night, and through the night and whatever, Tundra ate the deer leg. And in fact, there was nothing left when I got up in the morning and went out there. It had all been consumed. It wasn't buried, even though wolves will bury sometimes their food. And so what you'd find in the wolf scat, so when Tundra produced some scat, you'd find the hair and the meat and the bone in the scat. So wolves are obligate carnivores. They have to eat meat in which to get the energy, and they like a high-fat diet. Now we know they don't eat every day. In the wild, every 2 to 3 days, depending on their availability of the prey and their success in bringing it down. And Tundra would not eat for 2 or 3 days, even though the food was there. Now, what wolves can't do is they don't eat vegetables. Okay, they don't eat. So if you're looking at things like dry food, the dog kibble, a lot of it has corn or soy as filler and vegetables in it. Wolves can't process that. Dogs can. So Rocky has raw chicken, and he also has a dry kibble that has the vitamins and all that he needs. Wolves can't eat that, so there's a big difference there. Dogs can exist on a raw food diet just like wolves do, but if I put dry kibble out there, the wolves wouldn't touch it. So anyway, there's a major difference there. All right. Okay, so there's another aspect of wolves that I want to talk about. So there's wolves and women. Now, wolves are very sentient animals. They have a lot of feeling. They're very nurturing, particularly with their pups. All the family members help to raise the pups, just not the parents. Protect them, teach them, whatever. So they're very sentient, very nurturing, very loving within the wolf pack. And again, we could learn a lot from wolves about their loving nature, and not the the Little Red Riding Hood, big bad vicious wolf, and that. So within the pack, they're very, very loving in that. Now, what you find is, if you look at the number of sort of wolf advocates or people that operate wolf sanctuaries, or that, a lot of them are women. Tundra, when she engaged with people, she very much sought out women. The wolves, they detect that nurturing, compassionate qualities that women have. Yeah, men have them as well, but to a much lesser extent. And that, so Tundra would be very, definitely very engaging and loving towards women. And in the schools that I would go to, Tundra also would seek out the special needs students, the ones that had hyperactivity, but they were very calm around Tundra. Autistic children. In adult audiences, Tundra would seek out people that you could see they were experiencing some anxiety or distress. And in one beautiful instance where she sought out a First Nations lady, and that became the healing process for her because of her connection to the wolf. So very, very much that way. Now, dogs can be that way too, and that dogs are very can be very friendly. They use them as therapy dogs. Tundra was incredible in that way. We went to Canuck Place, which is a children's hospice in Vancouver. Is for children at advanced stages of cancer and that, and so their lifespan was certainly compromised. And Tundra was very, very engaging and loving and calm with them, and it was beautiful to watch. And that, so anyway, that's a part of wolves that we probably don't have had the ability to see and experience. And dogs are that way as well, so there's some similarity there. All right, one last topic, miscellaneous facts about wolves. For example, wolves don't bark. Dogs do. Dogs will howl. Wolves howl and whine. That's their form of verbal communication. The only time I've ever seen them close to a bark is when they're stressed, and it's kind of more of a guttural thing. It's not growling, it's kind of a guttural noise. So difference there, that dogs have developed this ability to bark, as you probably heard Rocky bark previously in the presentation. And if you're raising people raising wolves or wolf dogs, the wolves that I had were like 90 to and above in terms of their percentage. So, and in fact, they're wolves, their behavior and whatever. And we think that wolves are very sort of vicious, and that wolves are not guard dogs. So Tundra wouldn't act as a guard dog. Rocky does, because that's his nature. He's a German Shepherd, and they have that innate ability to guard. Wolves won't do that. People wouldn't come around our place, because they're wolves, but in fact, they wouldn't guard. All right, so I think I've shown you, to kind of wrap up, the anatomical differences between the wolf and the dog, and they're fairly significant. They're the long snout. So if we take a look at the Tundra again, the long snout, the very strong muscles, the occipital crest, their long legs, their ability to travel over great distances in a very mechanically efficient way because of the nature of their anatomy with their paws above the shoulders and the way that they run. And we've seen a whole bunch of behavioral differences between wolves and dogs, and that they're neophobic, they're very family oriented. The differences like they don't bark and not guard dogs, the high intelligence level, their ability to problem solve, things like that. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned some things about the differences between wolves and dogs in respect to their anatomy, their morphology, and their behavior. If you have any questions on that, you can always email me. So our email address is tundraspeaks14@gmail.com. So Tundra Speaks, SPEAKS 14@gmail.com. And our website is tundraspeaks.com. So thanks very much for watching. Take care.